Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight I am I'm showing you how to use Docker Desktop with WSL and also how along with Intellij. And I'm really impressed with WSL still. It's really awesome that I can actually be efficient developer on Windows on the Windows platform. It is it's really amazing. I didn't think that. That would actually happen ever, but the WSL 2, it just rocks. It's really cool. First of all, how to install the Docker Desktop. Docker Desktop is just Docker for Windows or for Mac. That's just its name. So you can just search for Docker Desktop and then download, and then you can type in this URL right here, docker.com products Docker Desktop. Of course, you need to have installed WSL 2 first, and then you also need to have verified that it actually works, and you also need to have set up a Ubuntu 20.04. That's what I set up at least. Of course, it also works with other configurations, but I would recommend that you first set up WSL, because when you press this download button right here, I already have it, so it's just a waste of space now. But then you open up this exe file, and then there's actually it's already ticked off. Do you want support for WSL? I can actually see that you're using WSL, so that will be ticked off by default. If it's not ticked off, then it's probably because you do not have WSL installed. I've used some of the other videos I've made on how to install WSL and how to use it in the correct manner. Tick off compatibility with the WSL. Press next, finish, and then you end up with Docker installed on your Windows machine. You need to log out and then log in again. And then when you log in again, then you have a new program called Docker Desktop, and you can find it just by in the start menu as usual. I already have it started, so let's see if it actually figures that out. It did not figure that one out in the beginning. Then you have a list of all of your containers. This list will be blank to begin with. It will actually recommend that you actually start this Docker getting started image, and that actually shows you the command. And I'll just show you what I actually typed, because there was one small thing that was I had to do. This is a Windows terminal that I started up, and I wanted to see my containers by writing docker ps. And that is exactly what I wrote, but then I actually got this error message right here, cannot connect to Docker. Okay, that was first, but then afterwards, after it actually started up, it was because it was not started up yet. Then I got this permission denied error instead, and then I actually had to set myself as owner on the var run docker.sock. I don't know if it's because I actually already installed Docker inside the WSL before I did this. Maybe that's why. But no matter what, after changing the ownership on the Docker socket to myself, then I can actually do all of the then I can run all of the commands that I usually do, like docker ps to see all of the running containers. And to begin with, there was no containers, and this was the recommended container to start up, just to test that it actually works. And you can see right here it's docker run. Then there's -d for daemon, and then it's actually mapping out the port 80 out to the system, and then this is the name of the image. Since I'm not giving any container name, then the container name will just be a made-up one by Docker itself. Then and then it actually popped up in my. As soon as I did that, then it actually popped up inside my Docker desktop application right here. And that was that was pretty amazing. It was just in sync right away. Then just for fun, then I actually also started an Nginx, and again I ran it as daemon. Then I mapped out port 8080 to the port 80 inside the Nginx. And what I did then is in this UI right here, the user interface right here, then you can actually press open in browser. Then I pressed that, and then I got the getting started manual from. This is actually the web page from inside the Docker that we are seeing right here. So that is pretty awesome. It's and you can actually see I'm using localhost and then port 80. So this means that we're actually viewing whatever it is inside the Docker image right there inside the web application. Then inside the Nginx, I can also press view that. This is the welcome page for Nginx, and this time it's actually port 8080 instead. And I think this is really, really cool. I'm not used to using a UI. Usually I use commands in a terminal, but I think it actually looks quite nice. And then I did another thing, as you can see right here. Then I have something that looks a little bit weirder, and this is because I'm using Docker Compose also. And this is a project that I created for the for this demonstration right here. And let me just show what I did, because of course I want to do some more advanced stuff. So what I did was I actually created a new project, file, new project. And then I chose Spring Initializer. I chose Gradle. I chose Kotlin just for fun, because I'm using Kotlin from inside the WSL. I've installed SDKman and the latest and greatest Kotlin version inside the WSL container. Then I chose Java 16. I don't think that did anything actually. Then I pressed next. I ticked off. I found the Spring Web, and I also found Mongo, because I want the Mongo database just to try something cool. So then I added the Mongo. Then I pressed finish, and then I ended up with this project right here. And here I got this Gradle file with my dependencies right here, with my MongoDB and also my web, my Kotlin, and also that they wanted to convert it to JDK 8 compatible Java code to the bytecode that is Java 8 compatible. That's fine. That's fine. That is fine. What else did I do? Then what actually happens when you do this is that you will actually get a wrong Gradle version. If you want to use Java 16, if you want to use JDK 16, then you need to use Gradle 7 at least. And then to begin with, it actually says 6.8 right here. So what the first thing I actually had to do was I opened up a terminal, and then I had to update the Gradle version. And the way you do that is setting Gradle wrapper -- Gradle version equals to 701. That's what I did right here. And then what it did was it actually updated then my Gradle version. There was another thing also. I also had to change I also had to give execution permissions to my Gradle W file, my Gradle wrapper file. That was another thing I had to do before. So but I guess that is I think it's Intellij who actually creates those wrappers right there. Maybe it's a combination of Spring and Intellij that generates a wrong version of Gradle. It's 6.8 something. They should use 7 at least when I'm using SDK 16, of course. After doing that, then I could actually start my application. I had an application right here that I could start up. I could also synchronize. I could press Gradle, and then I could press synchronize button right here. Then all my dependencies were downloaded, and I had a full working workspace right here. This is my Kotlin application. It's actually a Spring application, so it looks like any other Spring application. It almost could have been written in Java. You can see it says fun, so that is the method, that is the function in Kotlin. What else did I do? Then I created the spaceship file right here, and inside my file I have a class, it's the spaceship class, and then I also have my interface. And that's what I like with Kotlin, that I can mix. I can have multiple classes and I can have multiple interfaces in one file. I cannot do that with Java. With Java, I would have to create two different separate files. But I created the spaceship class right here. I say that the ID is actually an ID, a data ID. That means that then this will actually be set by MongoDB. I have to give this question mark right here because I want to set it to null. I want it to be nullable, because when it's nullable, then MongoDB will actually give me this value, the ID value right here. Then I have a captain, which has a default value of driverless, and then I have a fuel percentage, which has a default value of 88. But it doesn't matter because I only have one constructor. This is my primary constructor, as you can see right here. When you place your member variables in here, then it's a primary constructor. That means I need to initialize my my class with these variables right here, with these arguments. Then I overwrote the toString function or method, if you will. And then I created my own string representation of the object like this. I just added some arrows before and after, and then this was actually created by Intellij, this part right here. You can actually go to the top of your class and press insert, and then you can override method. You can also create a toString method and generate that, so you don't need to write it yourself. Then I did that. That was pretty good. That was pretty awesome. Then I configured my application. I set the server port to something else because now I'm actually the port 8080 is actually used by Intellij right now. And then I set the password, QWERTY, username Mike. It's not very secure, I know that. The default database is admin on a MongoDB. If you're too lazy to create your own database, then you can just use the admin database right there. Then I created the Docker Compose file, dockercompose.yml, which I have right here. And I just chose version 3.7. There was actually no thought about behind that, except for that you actually need a version up here. And then the service is my Mongo, and then I chose Mongo 3 because I know that Mongo 4 sometimes it's a little bit annoying, and I know Mongo 3 a little bit better, so I chose Mongo 3. But of course, you could also use Mongo 4. And then I chose the username and password right there, Mike and QWERTY. And then I have port mapping, so that means that I'm mapping out the 27017 port to the local system, and that is actually how my application right here can connect to the database. I'm not mentioning any port right here, and that means that it will use the default port, and the default port happens to be 27017. So that is pretty awesome. Then I created this cool test right here. Okay, then I press play, of course. Then I press play inside of Intellij, and then my Docker Compose was actually up and running, but actually I stopped it again, and I actually used a terminal instead, because actually I prefer to use a terminal. So let's just go to a terminal right here. It's actually, this is actually the terminal, I think. Let's check right here. Yes, this is the terminal. Let me just go out right here, and then I said Docker Compose down just to remove the. Then it should remove the container. I can also see that out in the Windows, in the Windows overview right here in my Docker desktop application. Yes, right now my MongoDB is gone. My Docker Compose stack is gone. So what I write now is I could also write Docker PS. If I write Docker PS, then I can also see the running Docker containers right there. Now I only have Nginx and the getting started Docker container. Let us write Docker Compose up, so then it should start up my MongoDB again. And of course, I'm not starting it as a daemon. That means that then it will actually steal my terminal, so I cannot do anything in that terminal anymore. If I start it up as a daemon, then it would actually free up my terminal again. So now I have my Mongo 3 running right there, and it has given it a random name. Oh, it's actually not a random name. It names it after the project and then the service, as you can see right there. Okay, so now my MongoDB has started up, and then I could run my test by pressing my Kotlin test right here. This is a Kotlin test. I annotated a Spring Boot test right here. Then I get my context, the context up and running, the whole Spring context up and running. Then I auto-wire in the Spring ship repository like this. And again, it needs to be nullable because we need to initialize it with null, and then it will actually then be injected afterwards and overwritten and set. And then I can create some spaceships right here. I've already just created one that's Mike. I could also have one that's Susan and the center 22, and have something here called Paul. And then this could be 33%. And then I go to my repository, then I say find all, that means give me all the spaceships, and then I print them out, a spaceship, and then the to-string representation of the current iteration that I'm going through. This is Kotlin, so you can see there's not as much code as if we were writing Java, but I think I really like Kotlin because it's readable, because there's not that much, I don't have to type that much actually. That's why I like Kotlin. Of course, it's also new and fun, and I don't need to write semicolon in the end. That's also a cool thing, what I like about it. Yeah, I like Kotlin a lot. So, let us see here. First, first I'm deleting all of the spaceships, then I am creating. Here's my spaceships. So can I write print line? Maybe then we need a new line like this. Let us just run again. I want the spaceships on new lines instead. So But never mind, because I wanted to show you that Docker works perfectly with WSL, and it's so impressive what they've made. They've actually made the Windows usable for developers. That's actually how big it is. This WSL. In old days, you could only use Windows as a development platform as a developer if you were a .NET developer, or maybe also if you created something. If you wanted to do something with Android Studio, then you had to use Windows, but it was not something you did on because you actually liked it. There were so many things that you missed from the Linux world, but now you got all the good things from the Linux world, and you also have all the device compatibility, which Windows does so good. All of the devices just works, and all the drivers are just made for Windows, right? So everything is awesome with this WSL. I am very, very impressed, and I'm happy every day that I actually use it. And I don't miss my Ubuntu VirtualBox image, except for when I forgot to commit or push some code to my own GitHub account. Then of course I need to go and fetch that code. Or else I'm just happy to use WSL, and I'm really happy to also to use Windows. And I would never have thought that I would actually say that just some time ago. So I think WSL 2, it's just awesome. To the Microsoft developers, huge respect for what you made here. This is awesome, and this will actually take a lot of the Linux developers onto the Windows platform. I'm pretty sure of that. I'll show this to my colleagues and to people that I know that are interested in technology, and of course also you now. But here you can see the spaceship. I have 3 spaceships, and they got an ID from the MongoDB database right there, which is just a string, a long unique string. Then I have Mike, Susan, and Paul as captains, and then they have different fuel percentages right there. And yes, it is an integer. It could also have been a float instead. Double. So that's actually what I want to show you. I want to show you how awesome Docker is and how easy it is to use with Windows WSL. And I was actually triggered by someone that wrote that he could not make it work, and it was actually very tedious and it was difficult, and that the containers would stop at some point. That's definitely not my experience with this. I think it was easy to set up, and there was good documentation on it. And this overview, if you don't want to look at that, I can just turn it off. I still have my terminal, of course, right? So I can just do whatever I want to in my WSL and inside the Windows terminal, which is right here. I also have my WSL right here, and that is actually, I think that is the beauty. That is the beauty. Also, view of the images. These are the downloaded images, and that is the beauty with it. If you prefer the Windows approach with application and UI windows with lists in it, then you can do that. Then you get the nice UI where you can sit and click instead of typing. If you prefer to type, which most most developers that uses Linux actually do, then you will feel much more free, and you will feel it's much more flexible to sit in a terminal, because of course the UI cannot represent all of the options that we have inside Docker, right? You can see all of there's not buttons that can match all of these situations right here, and especially also with extra arguments. So, and that is why a terminal and a prompt is so strong, right? And that is why most people, including myself, prefers to write stuff in a terminal than pressing buttons inside an application. Yes, that's what I want to say. It is it's great. Try to use it. Use Windows. Use WSL. It is awesome. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great evening, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.